I'm the COO at SearchLab. We're a kind of a boutique local SEO and PPC agency based out of Chicago, but really we're all remote all over the US. I've been doing local SEO for almost 20 years. I'm lucky enough to be a pretty popular presenter. The most I ever did was 32 conferences in 1 year. A lot of the chaos out there from AI hasn't really hit local yet, hasn't really figured out local yet. Now Google's starting to mess with it.
Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkify podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to the Market Movers podcast. Today's guest is Greg Gifford, Chief Operating Officer at SearchLab and a leading voice in local SEO, known for helping businesses win visibility through smarter local search, Google Business Profile Optimization, reviews, and content. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Excited to be here.
Greg, it's awesome to have you on. We were lucky enough to see you speak in Chiang Mai. Your speech, I think, is one of the ones that stands out the most because of all the movie references. I didn't know all the movies there, but that was a lot of fun. But for those out there who don't know who you are, give us a quick background intro on who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so like Chris said, I'm the COO at SearchLab. We're a kind of a boutique local SEO and PPC agency based out of Chicago, but really we're all remote all over the US. I've been doing local SEO for almost 20 years. I'm lucky enough to be a pretty popular presenter. I mean, you guys saw my style's pretty different from what most people do, which gets me invited to stuff like Chiang Mai and Porto, like we were talking about before the show started.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm lucky that I get to travel a lot. I'm trying to cut back a bit, though. I'm kind of burning out. The most I ever did was 2 years ago. I did 32 conferences in 1 year. So it's a lot of time on the road. Now, a lot of those were domestic things where it was just like, I'll fly in the night before, get up, do my talk, and go home the next day. But it's still a lot of time going to airports and being on planes. So I've kind of not done much domestic stuff. I'll only, I think, do 3 domestic conferences this year, and everything else is just cool international trips. As long as the conferences invite me, I'm going to keep going to cool places.
That's cool. That's awesome. Well, yeah, your speech was fantastic. The movie references were awesome.
I'm a little obsessed with movies,
yeah,
obviously.
Well, I guess my first question then is, what is your favorite movie? That's
See, you can't ask me a question like that because A, we only have about 25 minutes to talk. We're going to spend the whole time talking about movies. But B, all movies are not equal. Like, you've got horror movies, you've got action movies, you've got rom-coms, you've got westerns, you've got sci-fi. I kind of have to go by genre.
Well, I could do a better question, I think. Well, since this is about marketing, business, anything that just get you fired up for like entrepreneurship, or you're all sci-fi, aren't you?
No, it's all like sci-fi stuff.
I tell you what, think about it. We'll come back into the end.
Yeah.
Let's get back into SEO.
We'll wrap up on that one.
I really think if I had one film that I would have to watch over and over and over again, it's either The Goonies or The Fifth Element.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Very
cool.
interesting. Both great films.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Right then, let's get back into
Now
SEO.
to marketing.
Yeah. We have seen some huge major changes in recent months. Some spaces have been battered with the changes in SEO. I think we just had our shortest ever Google update in the past 24 hours, which is interesting. Some niches have been more impacted than others. What are you seeing in terms of impact for local SEO?
None.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, all the big updates are not really affecting local. We're kind of lucky. A lot of the chaos out there from AI hasn't really hit local yet either. I talked about that a little bit in my talk in November. Hasn't really figured out local yet. Now, Google's starting to mess with it. Joy Hawkins has been doing some research, and we're seeing AI packs in about 13% of the searches now instead of traditional map packs. That gets a little scary because it's only going to show 1 or 2 businesses instead of 3. And there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason. It's not like, hey, if it shows 2, these are the first 2 that would have been in a traditional map pack in the same search anyway. It's kind of different, and that's kind of the biggest change that we've seen that's really affected local. And the call button is disappearing in those AI packs. So Google's basically trying to force you to run ads to get phone numbers to show. I'm assuming it's going to continue down that road, but a lot of the chaos with everything else hasn't really hit local because local is so based off of real world location and proximity that even when everyone's the big speculation right now is, when is AI mode going to become the default with Google? And a lot of people think it's going to happen at I/O in May. I don't think it's going to happen that soon. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens by the end of the year, though. But I don't think it's going to be what people assume it is.
Mhm.
People right now assume that it's going to be what we see when we go to AI mode. I think it's going to be more of a hybrid, where for the queries it makes sense, it's going to be a full chat AI interface. But for the queries where somebody's looking for a local business, it might function a little bit more like a hybrid, but with like an AI overview and then a traditional search results page, because the AI models are not going to go remap the world. When you're asking
Right.
about a local business, they have to get that information from somewhere, and that's going to come from the Google Business Profile and all of the other citations that are out there about that business. It doesn't make sense for them to try to go out and remap the world, because map location is deterministic, not probabilistic, and they're probabilistic systems. Why would they need to go try to?
Hmm.
I mean, look at what Google has done with the cars and the cameras that drive around to get the map data. The AI platforms have no need to do that. The map data already exists. They just have to layer on top of it, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to talk about AI and the way that's going to change search. I think this will be sort of the same concept. If AI mode rolls out, you're right. Like the map is what it is. These are the businesses in that space. Where I think it could get more interesting is in the other information it could grab from the user. So not just like car dealership near me, but like what kind of car are you looking for? How
Well, yeah, it's
important is
the whole
MPGs?
personalization side. Google's
Mhm.
rolling out that connection where it's the AI is gonna connect to your Gmail and to your calendar, and it's gonna know the history. And now, if I am asking, like, I always use Ford as an example because I live in Dallas. It's the most crazy Ford market in the world. Now, if I'm looking for a Ford dealer in Dallas, instead of just showing me based on proximity and reviews and, obviously whatever SEO signals, it's going to know if I have been to a Ford store before. It's probably just going to recommend that store because it's going to go, well, you've been to this one before. Here's the one you should go to again,
Hmm.
which could be very interesting. But I also think, too, I'm a little bit contrarian in this. We all care about AI mode and AI overviews a lot because we're in marketing. The general public, the vibe is not that positive about AI mode or AI overviews. And the most popular Chrome plugins right now are the Block AI overview Chrome plugins, because so many people are frustrated with them and they don't like it and they don't trust it, that they're not using it. Now, I think a little bit of that is people that are dragging their feet and they don't like change and they don't want to change to the new thing. But I do also think there's a lot of people out there that just don't care to have the AI overview or to have AI mode, and they're perfectly fine with the traditional search experience. So I still think it's a little bit up in the air. Like, whenever Google figures out the ad side, that's when they're going to turn AI mode on full time. The whole reason they're not doing it right now is because they'll kill their ad revenue. Once they can figure out how to sustain the ad revenue, and I think the personalization bit is going to play into that too, then they go full on and AI mode is the default. It'll be interesting to see, do people click away from it? If the consumer base, the vast majority of the consumer base, doesn't like that interface. Now, sure, AI is great for the early funnel research stuff, the more conversational, I'm looking for a car and I'm a newly divorced single father with 3 teenage boys that play hockey, and I need to get a new SUV because I drove the sports car before, but now I need to get an SUV that I can drive around, and it's got to have third row seating so I can take all the kids and have enough space in the back for their hockey equipment. What should I get? Nobody ever did a search query like that before, right? Like, nobody would ever do. You would be like, SUV third row seating would be your, maybe near me or your city, right? Now you're going to have these long queries. That makes perfect sense earlier in the funnel. But when you're actually wanting to go buy the car, like, people want to go to the dealership and they're going to want to go to the dealership website. Now, that behavior is going to change over time once AI mode becomes a default, but I don't think it's this overnight change that everyone assumes is going to happen. I think once AI mode goes default, we're in for a period of where people are still kind of switching back. Because, right now you have to click the button to go to AI mode. When they switch to AI mode, I'm sure there's going to be a button to click back to traditional search. They're not just going to turn it off. I think there's still going to be a period here where, if they do turn it on tomorrow, there's probably another year or two at least where a lot of people are still going to resist. And if enough people resist, maybe it becomes this hybrid where you just have the AI overview at the top. And if you have that big, long conversational query, it just automatically triggers an AI mode answer. But for most of the searches, we still see kind of this hybrid where we've got a little AI at the top and then search result to the bottom. I could be wrong, but I kind of think that's a little more realistic.
I think it'll be interesting because I don't go to Google that often anymore. And if I do, I'm looking for a local business usually. I'm looking for something very specific. So I'm not going to be interested in the AI mode. If I want an AI answer, I'm going to go to ChatGPT or Claude. Like that's so I think that's probably a lot of that block AI. Like there's going to be the people who have no interest in AI, and then there's the other people who have interest in AI, but they use a different model. They don't want AI mode. So it'll be really interesting to see what that layout looks like.
It's that behavior right there. Because if you want an AI answer, you don't go to Google. You're going to ChatGPT or Claude. And I've started playing around with Gemini. Gemini is actually really good. I actually like Gemini better than any other one if I'm just wanting a conversational discussion about something, right? But I think you're right. I don't think people really default to go to AI mode. They're going to go to some other LLM and then go to Google to do the search at the end of whatever research they've been doing. Man, it's interesting. It's fun. I think it's going to be cool to see where it goes. I am not the doom and gloom camp that thinks that we all aren't going to have a job by the end of this year. I think we're all still going to have jobs because sure, the AIs can do a lot of the menial work for us, but they don't understand strategy. They can't make strategic decisions like the general public thinks they can. Like the general public's like, hey, go tell me how to optimize this website. And the AI is going to spit out some BS. It's not going to be good. It's not really going to help. So the strategic mind behind the AI is still going to be necessary for a while.
Yeah, I totally agree. Greg, just before we move on from local, this hasn't rolled out in the UK yet. I'm waiting for it to happen, or at least I don't think it has. Gemini in the maps. Is that something which you think is another layer to think about when it comes to local SEO? Or
okay, this is an interesting question because I'm in a WhatsApp group with some very top level SEOs from an event that I went to. And the whole Ask Maps thing, somebody popped in and asked about it into this WhatsApp channel and tagged me like, what do you think? And my answer was, I don't think it's a big deal because people don't really go to the Maps app to ask questions about a business or find a business. They do it. They only go to the Maps app to get directions, to which all the Europeans came back and said, maybe in the US, but over here, if I'm somewhere and I want to find a restaurant or a pub, I don't go to Google, I go to Maps and I do it in Maps. So I think the behavior is different between US and Europe because I was thinking, hey, it's not going to be that big of a deal, but apparently a lot of people do use that Maps app. And I think it will be a massive deal there, especially again, once that personalization kicks in. Now, let's say I come to a conference in Porto and I say, hey, I would like to go on a port tour and drink some really good port. Where should I go? Well, now, if the personalization is turned on, it's going to know I did the Taylor's tour when I was there last time, and it's just going to say, oh, go to Taylor's. Or potentially it might go, well, you did Taylor's last time, do this one this time. But it's a different experience where it's just going to tell me something based on my past history and what it knows about my preferences, instead of right now where it's just going to go, okay, here's all the things that you can do, and it's up to me to do the research and click through and read the reviews and see what's included. And I think
that one could be interesting.
I think it could be interesting. I think it could be good. I just struggle with, are people going to actually believe it or want it, or are they going to take it with a grain of salt and still go do their own research anyway? Who knows? Like, we'll just have to see how it shakes out and how it actually gets used.
Nick's an American, but when we're in conferences together, he takes the lead on where we're going to eat, and he will pull out his phone and he will go into the maps and then he will do like the sort. So I imagine you would utilize the Gemini in there, and I would look forward to doing it.
I use it here. In Portugal, we have like something that's sort of similar to a latte, but it's not a latte. And so there's sometimes I'm like, I've got to have a latte. I've got to get a good latte. And so it's hit or miss because it looks through the reviews and it can find someone said latte, but it could have been like they didn't have a latte. So then you still have to go and check the images. So I think there could be some things like it speeds up that process when you're out on the streets and you're looking for something and you ask it. It could help in that regard.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, I do a live Q&A podcast twice a month with another guy that does local SEO. And we always talk a lot about AI stuff, like as you should right now, because so much is going on and changing. He really thinks that wearables is where everything is going. and he's kind of brought me around, and I kind of see it now with like the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, right?
Mhm.
My mom has macular degeneration, so she can't really see well anymore. She went and got these Meta glasses because now she can be at a restaurant and have the glasses read the menu to her instead of having to have somebody read the menu,
Oh, wow.
which is cool.
Mhm.
But if you think about it, as the battery power gets better and these things can just be on all the time, imagine now I'm walking down a street, and instead of having to pull it up and let's say I'm in like an area of town where there's a bunch of pubs and I'm trying to go grab a pint somewhere with my friends. Now I could just have my glasses going and I could just look at all of them and just slowly pan down the street, and it's going to pop up. Here's the reviews for this one. Here's a important point about this one. You won't even have to have your phone out because it all just appears based on what you're looking at. I think that's honestly kind of a really interesting direction that I think things are going to head once they can figure out how the wearables actually are going to work and make it affordable for people. I think that's kind of the big kicker right now is we're in this nascent stage of AI and enhancements and robotics, that things are moving so quickly and things are changing so fast and we're all freaking out about it. But remember, like DVD versus Blu-ray, right?
Mhm.
And you had two different competing technologies and one of them ended up winning. It's going to be the same thing. You've got Claude, you've got Perplexity, you've got Google, you've got ChatGPT, you've got all these, DeepSeek and all these other things. Not all of them are going to exist 5 years from now,
Mhm.
or they're going to specialize. Like ChatGPT just dropped the Sora video stuff because it's
Yeah.
too expensive for them to just let people use. I don't care what anybody else says. I guarantee you they're dropping it because it's just too damn expensive to run the video generation stuff. We're probably going to end up with more. Obviously, we're going to have more of like an agentic experience where you'll have one or two providers that create the agents that, like right now, all of the agentic stuff is really either OpenClaw or Claude, right?
Mhm.
And you're going to end up with everyone has their own little agent that goes out and does their own little things, but we're not going to have these different services that we're logging into to get information from. And as the AI gets better and smarter and faster, things become cheaper. I already saw something a week ago that they've ridiculously reduced the amount of energy needed because they are coding the training data onto the individual chip. So now the AIs won't have to go reference the training data on whatever server because all the training data will be hard coded on the chip. So it's just all local, which means you don't have all of that constant calls back and forth, which reduces a lot of the energy and heat. So they're going to get this stuff better and faster and more efficient. And as they do that, things become cheaper. And then you figure out robotics and ways to become more efficient and all of this stuff. They're talking about we're all going to have robots and Tesla's going to build these robots in your home for $20,000. I think 10, 15 years from now, we're going to be able to buy a robot in our house for $5,000 or $6,000 or even cheaper than that, right? Like these things are going to get better, faster, cheaper. Everybody's worried about what do we do right now for geo? Who cares? Geo isn't even a thing. We can't even all agree on what to call it.
Yeah.
And it's less than 4% of anyone's traffic right now. Is it going to grow? Sure. But everybody's worried about this right now because we're all in marketing and it's exciting and things are changing. But for the general public, I don't think it's as big of a deal. And I think we're worried about what it's going to be right now before you've even chosen Blu-ray or DVD, right?
Yeah.
Like things are
Yeah.
going to change so significantly for the next few years. Like, yeah, do your research, stay on top of it, but don't go all in. Like, sorry, I feel like I'm talking really long answers. Talking a lot. Like Lily Ray did this great research for the last Google update that a lot of the sites that got hit were sites that went and did the listicle thing to show up better in AI.
Mhm.
So, like her one quote was that in 1 year, this one site that got hit really badly in 1 year had 191 listicles where their software, their company was listed as the top choice
Mhm.
of all that list. Maybe doing one listicle could be forgivable, but 191 in the space of a year,
Yeah.
like that's a lot. That's more than 10 a month, right? So you're putting out that many. That is not a mistake. That's an intentional strategy. So
Yeah.
you're going and blowing out this one thing because you heard it works for geo. But then now you're penalized and you're not showing up in Google at all. And you just tanked all of your traffic to go chase this really small percentage. And obviously in different verticals, it's bigger percentages. But
Mhm.
right now, all the geo bros on LinkedIn are like, SEO is dead. Now you got to do geo. And all the stuff they're telling you to do is stuff that we've been doing in SEO for years. So clearly there
Yeah.
are people that it's clickbaity titles. I get it. But things are changing so quickly right now. It doesn't make any sense to just go all in on trying to show up in AI. But I think too, it's the C-suite that wants to show up in AI and they don't understand how the models even work and that you can't even really track if you're showing up there or not. So it's this whole weird spot where everything is changing. Will Reynolds just did a great talk at the final keynote of SMX Munich a week ago. And he's really talking about how people are mortgaging their trust. So you go do things to show up in AI that when customers see what you did to show up in AI, they no longer want to buy from you, like a listicle. Like if HubSpot's going to say, hey, what are the best CRMs out there? And they list themselves as number one. And then someone does a search of what are the best CRMs to use, and the AI recommends HubSpot, and you see the citation off to the side that says, on the HubSpot site, here's a list of 10 CRMs and which ones are the best, and clearly HubSpot listed themselves. Do you really even trust what the AI told you at that point? No.
Yeah.
So who cares if you're doing something to show up in AI that works, if when customers see what you did to manipulate to get to show, they no longer trust that answer, then all your work is in vain. And I think there's a lot of that happening right now.
That's a great turn of phrase, mortgaging your trust. I like that. Yeah.
Well, and if you look at the listicle part, if you look at each individual listicle, now if you're distributing your own listicles, yeah, you're manipulating a strategy. But if you're going after existing listicles, if the AI visibility part wasn't there, would you want to be in that listicle? Will that drive real business? And I think if it does, it's go for it, right? Like,
yeah, but you wouldn't do 191 of them in a year.
No, of course not.
Right?
You could. That's distributing your own to
I mean, it's the same thing with press releases. Press releases are so overpowered for showing up and being mentioned in AI. So now a bunch of people are going back to the old days of SEO 15 years ago where you just put a press release out every week or 2 or 3 out a week because that means you get a bunch of links and all those links help you rank better. And you're just doing it like you don't even have anything newsworthy to put a press release out. You just make up some BS to put a press release out because you know it's going to get you more visibility. But now it becomes a lot more obvious that you're doing these things. And again, like I think what it really comes down to is everyone's looking for a silver bullet. Everybody wants the one quick hack that's going to get them visibility and make them a bunch of money. And for all time, since marketing was invented, guess what? The thing that works the best is just doing marketing. You know, if you just do real marketing, you're going to be okay. The problem is a lot of people don't know how to do SEO. A lot of people don't know how to do PPC. And they'll hire vendors and they don't know any better and they hire a vendor that's not good at it. And then you get a bad taste in your mouth because you've gone through 4 SEO vendors in the last 4 years and you're worse off than you were before. And nobody's there. They're all going, look, things are improving because you went up 1% year over year. Like, that's not an improvement. That's flatline. Like, that's you're worse. Like, you spent all this money to be in the same spot. But something that we're pointing out to a lot of customers now is, you know, we work primarily with auto dealers, and they have this big thing now of like GDPR compliance and tracking compliance. And so you have this big pop-up that appears on the bottom of the screen, kind of like all the stuff in Europe of like, do you consent to be tracked? And a lot of people say, no, I don't want to be tracked. Well, when you do that, it turns off Google Analytics too. So we're seeing all these dealers that have lost 40, 50% of their organic traffic. It's not really because they lost their traffic. It's because they have this new privacy blocker thing and people are opting out, which means now Google Analytics just isn't recording anything for that session. But you look and their sales are up. Their conversions are up. They've got more leads than they had a year ago, even though their traffic is down. Okay, well, that's because what's tracked in Google Analytics isn't the reality. Look in your CRM and the leads that you have in your CRM. Those are way above what's in Google Analytics. It doesn't mean analytics is broken. It means analytics isn't tracking the people that don't want to be tracked. But as we see this shift into an LLM situation where all of the early funnel stuff happens on an LLM and the conversion is all that happens on the website, again, you would see traffic going down, but conversions stay flat or conversions go up. And I think that's something a lot of marketers need to start paying attention to because we've done ourselves a big disservice in SEO because we have trained both ourselves and our customers to use traffic as a KPI for success. And traffic is a vanity metric. I mean, let's be honest. Like, who cares how much traffic you get? Traffic doesn't mean you're getting paid. Selling stuff means you're getting paid. So conversions and sales are what actually matter. So now that we've done all of this work to train people that like, hey, you're getting more and more organic traffic and that should mean more leads and that should mean more in sales. So SEO's working, yay. Well, now traffic's going down because AI is starting to chip away at that and privacy blockers are chipping away at that. And now clients are going, hey man, you told me the way I know if SEO is working is if my traffic's going up, and now my traffic's going down. So I don't think what you're doing is working for me, and everybody's having to scramble. So I think it's really time for us all to come together as an industry and share some knowledge and say, look, this is what matters. Let's track these things instead, and
Yeah.
stop tracking stupid vanity things just to try to keep clients.
That would be the day.
Right.
So,
Utopia world, right?
in that world, we've all agreed on GEO or one name as well.
Right.
Okay, so let's get to that example of the dad who's searching for the new car, and he puts in all the things. He's going through that in ChatGPT. How do you think this changes the strategy? If you're the dealership and you realize that search is, or the discovery phrase is moving to ChatGPT or LLMs, what do you do with that? How does that change things?
So I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of businesses are making right now is they're seeing all of this, and marketers as well are seeing all of this and saying, well, I don't want to write content for mid to upper funnel intent anymore because I'm not going to get traffic for that. The LLM is just going to synthesize that answer. And so I'm not going to write that. Okay, well, how do you expect to be included in a recommendation if you're not writing that content? And where is that answer being synthesized from? If you're not writing something, it's not influencing that answer. So I think for a long time, a lot of businesses, and we fight this with car dealers and have as long as I've been in automotive, businesses want bottom of funnel content. They want something that shows up on their website that in their mind, whether they know SEO or not, they're looking at that going, oh yeah, this is a page that's designed to get somebody to call me or fill out a form. This is a conversion driving page. This is good. When you do that mid to upper funnel stuff, even though they may not even know mid to upper funnel terminology, they're going to look and they're going to go, that's really more informational. That's not going to make somebody want to buy. I don't want that content. But the way I always explain it to people is if we're only writing the extreme bottom of funnel content, that is an extremely narrow focus on the market that you serve. Whether you're a local business or whether you are digital and you can serve anyone on the planet, if you're only writing that, hey, this is the answer, convert right now content, people are doing research before they get to that point, and you want to be included in that research because the sooner they're exposed to you, the more likely it is that they remember you and come back and convert with you later. So I think now this is really, it should be, it's not because people are making the wrong decision, but I think it should be forcing people to do SEO the right way and to consider all parts of the customer journey. I just did a talk in SMX about content, and Google wrote a paper in 2020 called The Messy Middle, where, everyone assumes that this is this linear funnel to conversion, a linear path. You go to this step, to this step, to this step, to this step, and then you convert. And really, it's this kind of messy, you're all over the place because you're going to do a Google search, you're going to see something on TikTok, then you're going to see a YouTube ad, then you're going to see a display ad, and then you're going to come back and do some more research, and you're going to do organic stuff, and then you're going to move to maps or to a map pack and see which place do you want to buy from because now you're far enough down the funnel to look at reviews. You have all of these different touch points, and everybody's just writing for the extreme end of that path. And you have to start thinking about what the customer journey is like and where people are spending time and where they're getting their answers, and write content around that. And I think that's where a lot of people screw up because they're making that decision to just do the bottom of funnel, and then now they're not going to win in the long run.
You're missing out. Nathan Gotch is doing this series currently where he's put a big call out for anybody that can show him a brand which is crushing it in AI search and has zero SEO organic presence. So he wants to know if there's any brands out there that are only doing well in AI search. Nobody has yet put forward a brand that meets this criteria.
Like this could be one of those old school SEO experiments where you go for you create some random keyword like I sell nuclear plaid widgets. That's not even a great example because I'm sure somebody said that somewhere, but you come up with some unique keyword phrase that never existed before you made it up, and you make a website or a page about that keyword phrase, and then the next day you do a Google search, and guess what? You rank number one. Well, of course you do because you're the only thing on the planet with that phrase on the page. I'm sure you could do that right now with AI search. You could have a brand that could go make up some BS term and show up in, obviously it would only work in grounded searches because it's not going to show up in the training data, but if whatever you do can trigger a grounded search, then of course you're going to show up in the AI. I think that's the only way you could have something that shows up in AI and not in Google search. I don't think it's possible. I could be wrong, but understanding how things work, I just don't think it's possible to have something that would perform well in AI and not have any visibility in Google because I mean, let's look at Gemini. Right now, the version of Gemini that powers AI overviews in AI mode, the cutoff of training data was January of last year. So you're not going to be in the training data. So anything that you're showing up, if it's a newer concept that you're trying to show up for this brand, anything since more than 12 months ago, if it started since then, you're not in the training data, and it's going to be relying on grounded searches, which means inherently you have to have a Google presence. And to be in the training data came off of stuff that they went out and found online already. And I just don't think it's possible you can have only AI visibility.
Yeah, I agree. It's being a real brand. I think that's like the biggest thing. Like ChatGPT, they don't recommend. They're always looking for who's a real brand. How I guess that's a great place to go. Like, how does the brand building side? How are you thinking about that for AI with local? For a lot of other industries, there's like a clear blueprint to building the brand. It's not TV commercials. It's getting on podcasts and YouTube, and it's all this content that AI can, index and sort through, go through. How do you approach that when it comes to local?
It's pretty much the same. It's offsite stuff, but with local, it's a little bit less of. I mean, yeah, there's the really good SEO agencies and providers and freelancers out there that have always gotten their clients on podcasts and done video work for them. So they're showing up on YouTube and TikTok and Reels and all of the other things. But there's also a lot of SEOs that were just, hey, I'm doing content and link building and that's all I do. And they're not doing really much offsite stuff other than what they're doing for link building. With local, we've always done a lot of offsite stuff because you have all of it's weird now to say citations because it works on AI citations, but also local SEO citations. So offsite directory type mentions where you have the name, address, phone number have been important for local SEO since Google came about, right? So we've always had these directory sites that we have to manage as part of the local SEO ecosystem. And Yext did some research that came out last fall that said for local businesses in AI overviews, I think it's either 84 or 86% of the citations that show up are sites that you control because they are also local SEO citations. So the 80-something% of the sites that get mentioned as data sources for AI overviews are local SEO citation sites like Yelp or TripAdvisor or things that we've all been working on for forever. So it's not like all of a sudden in local, now we have to pay attention to these other sites. We always have. So that's a little bit of a benefit for us. I think the biggest shift in local is, again, you have this kind of upper echelon of people that, from a reputation management standpoint, include reputation management with what they do. A lot of businesses treat reputation management as a separate thing from SEO, but with local, it's very intertwined. And the people that really understand the algorithm have always made sure that their clients are getting reviews on a lot of different sites, not just on Google. Most businesses that are not as well educated and most people that don't really get local SEO as well would just go for Google reviews because that's what's front and center when you're in the map pack and you're seeing that. With AI, it really matters to expand and get reviews all over the place and not just on Google, because the AIs, when they recommend the best business, they have no concept of best. They don't even understand what best means. They've been trained that best means best reviews. So they're going to go look and see who has the best reviews, both just with score and with sentiment of what is mentioned in those reviews. And if you're only on Google, you're operating at a deficit because it's going to go look at other things. And I think a lot of us are having to pay attention to older things that didn't matter for Google that now the AIs will notice. So like, let's say I'm over in Europe somewhere and I'm going on a trip, or actually better. Let's say you are, Nick, coming back to Oklahoma and you're wanting to go to a restaurant or something and you're looking something up and you're like, you've got it narrowed down to 2 or 3 different places and you're not sure. So you're going to then go ask ChatGPT or whatever your model of choice is, hey, I've narrowed it down to these 3 places to go get a steak. Which one should I go check out?
I've already got my steak place.
You can have, do what?
I've already got my steak place. I go to the same place. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
You might have a place that 10 years ago had an employee that got fired, and that employee went to Glassdoor and left a scathing review on Glassdoor. And now you go ask the AI what it thinks about that business, and it's going to say some reviews say that they treat customers very poorly and they steal from customers and they overcharge you and they burn through their employees because the management is awful and it's a horrible working environment. And you might go, wow, I don't want to go there. The AI doesn't mention that it has overwhelmingly positive reviews and might be the highest reviewed business in the industry. And it doesn't also mention that only one review said this thing. It will say reviews mention, and it won't mention that that's a 10-year-old review from a site that clearly is designed to just let ex-employees trash their right? So you have to start worrying about some of these reputation management things that just wouldn't even be a blip on the radar for traditional search, but because the AI is going to go out and look at everything and see that and not include that context in the synthesized answer, then things can get kind of wonky.
How would you approach that company that is having that single bad Glassdoor review being cited inside of LLMs? From a local SEO perspective, how would you go about fixing that?
Get them more reviews on Glassdoor so that they don't have, because usually you don't get lots of positive reviews on Glassdoor. Glassdoor really tends to just be ex-employees that are pissed or someone that did an interview that didn't get hired and they want to go try to hurt that business. That's really the majority of those reviews. Go get more positive reviews so that it's not like when they go look at your entity on that site, it sees 2 reviews and 50% of them are a horrible review. Now it becomes less than 10% of the reviews or less than 100, whatever. You want to get more reviews on that platform. I might also go do a blog post and put up a blog post that says, hey, 10 years ago, we got this really bad review. And now with AI search, it's starting to show up again. So this is something interesting that we're trying to fight because it just have kind of that open kimono moment where you're being transparent about 10 years ago, you fired this employee or this employee was let go, or you can even be nicer about it and say, it doesn't matter why they left, but when they left, they weren't happy and they went and tried to trash us. And now we're seeing that the synthesized answers, because what you're secretly trying to do is feed more information to the AI that matches the pattern of that one review to hopefully get it to pop in and either realize this is very outdated and it doesn't matter, or hopefully influence what gets synthesized so that instead of just saying some reviews say this, it might say a review from 10 years ago says that.
Interesting.
You can't really get rid of the reviews there. So you've got to get more positive reviews in other places. Because the other thing that's really interesting is a lot of research from multiple different places have shown that the AI models prefer fresher content. And Profound did some stuff that I don't remember. Gosh, I can't remember what the numbers were, but it was something like 60 or 70% of the citations in AI overviews are from content that is less than 3 months old, and 30% are less than 1 month old. So there's definitely a bias towards fresh content. So I would just go add more fresh reviews in other places and more fresh content to hopefully entice it away from that one negative thing from 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so within the local space, we've been talking about how much of the journey is going to shift. There are some, if we just look at local, there are some I think it's going to be a huge shift. If you're looking for a lawyer, now you can find an individual lawyer who specializes in what you need. Same thing with a lot of different niches. Car dealerships, I struggle to see more how it will impact the final decision on what dealership you go to. I see the research on what kind of car I want, but how do you think, will that be heavily impacted when you go to who do I actually visit?
I hate to say it depends because, right.
But it depends.
It will matter. If you are, I had a phone call with a potential client a couple of weeks ago that was a Ford dealer in Winslow, Arizona. But he's the only Ford dealer in Winslow, Arizona. So if you want to buy a Ford car and you live in Winslow, unless you want to drive an hour away to get to another dealership, you only have one option. You're just going to go there, right? So in situations where, and this happens pretty often in Europe too, where if you're wanting to buy a certain brand of car, there's only one dealership in town that sells that brand. There is no choice for you. The choice layer doesn't exist. Once you've settled on, I want this make and model, you just go where the only option is, right? But when you have these markets where you do have a lot of choices, like Dallas has 24 dealerships, it's then going to come down to that personalization layer of, okay, maybe the personalization is because as soon as it attaches to your Gmail and your calendar and your Google account, it's also tracking your location because Google sees everywhere that you go. If you have an Android device and if you've got an Apple device or any other device and you have Google Maps on and location shared, then Google knows where you're going. And if Google's going to see, okay, I live in this spot right here, and 95% of the things that I buy in the local area are within a 15-minute drive of where I live. And now I need to go buy a Ford car in Dallas, and there's only one dealership that fits in that radius. It may recommend that I go to that one because it just knows I'm not willing to drive further. That's pure speculation. I'm not saying there's any research that proves that, but I mean, it makes sense that it would start to do that, where then it becomes, a lot of local has been proximity for a long time anyway. I think it becomes even more proximity sensitive at that point. Or it might know, again, like I mentioned earlier, I've been to this other dealership. It's just going to have me go back to that one. It's not going to give me other options or recommend other options. I think the other thing, cars are a little bit different. It's an extremely expensive purchase for most people in the world. A car, whichever car you were talking about that you own during your lifetime, your car is the second most expensive thing that you will buy in your lifetime behind your house. It's not something you're going to let an agent just go buy for you. But let's look at the commodities: toilet paper, milk, eggs, things like that. Why would I want to waste my time to go to the store to buy these things? Like, I already have a smart fridge. So it's got a panel on the front that, you can put a calendar and stuff on it. It's kind of stupid, honestly. We got the fridge for other reasons than the panel. But it also has a camera on the inside. And the camera, it's got some rudimentary AI attached to it. So it will know, hey, this is milk. And if you're using a milk jug that is plastic, it can sense the level of the milk. And because this is a Samsung fridge, it's tied in with Alexa. So I could already turn it on with my Amazon account that when the milk gets to a certain level, it just automatically orders me another of that one, and it just shows up and gets delivered to my house. And I don't even have to order intentionally at that point. That's already, I've had this fridge for 2 years. I could have been doing that for the last 2 years before any of this real AI agent stuff came out. But I think we're moving to this agentic future where, for the simple things of, like, I like board games a whole lot. And let's say I have a board game night every Saturday night, and I have people come over to my house, or I go to people's houses, or let's just, for the example, say every Saturday night, people come to my house and we play board games. And every Saturday night, we order a pizza or multiple pizzas or whatever from the same pizza place. Well, once we get to this agentic world, it's more likely I will just have my agent order the pizza. I will let the agent know, hey, we are having game night on Saturday. Everybody's getting here at 6. So have the pizza arrive about 6:30, and it's going to know usually approximate delivery window. It's going to order that pizza at 5:45. So it's delivered at 6:30. And then very quickly it becomes a thing I don't even have to ask for, and it's just going to do it automatically. And I have that pizza. Maybe the AI will check in with me and make sure that game night's happening, and I'll say, yeah, but then it's just going to order that pizza for me. I think choice is going to be removed from the equation for a lot of these type of business decisions. Like, I don't think it becomes about proximity anymore. It becomes preference. And if it knows I like the pizza place we go to is called Crazy Tomato, and it's going to know I'm not going to order Domino's because I like Crazy Tomato better. And it's going to know that if I have this consistent schedule, it's just going to do it for me, because why do I need to waste the time doing it for myself? And it may not be that automatic, but it would be automatic enough to at least go, hey, look, I see on your schedule, because it has my calendar, you've got game night scheduled. Would you like me to go ahead and get the pizza set up? Yes, I would. Thanks. And it'll just go do it.
But I like that. For the pizza example especially, I tell you one thing, though. Don't let your fridge order your milk, because when we've got, online shopping in the UK, and they will never give you the good sell by date or use by date.
I hate that. I hate that.
You've got to go in and get it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, Greg, listen, this has been absolutely fantastic. I hope that you will come back on again, maybe in 12
Anytime you
months'
guys
time.
want me, I'm happy to come back. This is a blast.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah. Just before we finish, it's been absolutely brilliant. If people want to find you, where can they go?
Best place is LinkedIn. It's just LinkedIn/in/Greg Gifford.
Okay, perfect. And are you speaking at any conferences in the next few months?
Yeah. So let's see. The last week of April / first week of May there, I'm at Brighton SEO in Brighton in the UK.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
That is April. I have nothing in May. In June, I'm speaking at a Fat Joe event in Barcelona. And I'm
Nice.
doing Digital Summit in Denver. In July, I'm doing SEO Estonia, same guys that do Shanghai SEO. In September, I'm doing the G50 Summit in October, I'm doing Brighton SEO again.
So not much.
I mean, that's actually
Not
not
really.
much for
That-
me.
that's
For my
less than
normal
what it- yeah.
schedule, that's very light. I'm only going to do like 7 conferences this year.
Greg, thank you for being such an awesome guest, and take care. We'll speak soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Greg.